years after the Capitol insurrection, we're back at the scene of the attack, asking what's changed to harden that building and make it safer, and whether something like that could happen again. While there is still endless political debate, it is clear the Capitol's defense and defenders weren't ready.
There were intelligence failures, there were communication failures, there were operational planning failures.
The Capitol's police chief knows what went wrong, and he's starting to fix it.
Do you see the guy behind the shield up there?
Oh, yeah.
So,
along with additional officers largely hidden from view, Tom Manger says a hiring binge, fortified windows and doors, and a series of other changes he would not reveal make it a different place today. He knows it needs to be. Do you worry about another January 6th happening here?
Sure, I worry about
it. Will happen?
I do think we'll be tested. We will be tested again. What it looks like, I'm not sure.
Perhaps the biggest recommendation from the task force created to rapidly identify failures and fixes involves more officers, 854 of them, though the Capitol Police, like all police, are struggling with recruitment.
There's a couple hundred more cops working here today than there were before January 6th. So we have been able to add personnel, but we still need more. And I've when I speak to Congress about my budget, I let them know that, look, I appreciate everything that you've given us over the past couple of years, but we're going to have more asks because there's still challenges that we need to deal with. And I mean, one of the big ones right now is the number of threats we get against members of Congress.
The Capitol Police report concerning statements and threats about Congress jumping from 3,939 in 2017 to 9,625 in 2021. We connected with retired Lieutenant General Russell Honore for a video chat. He led the task force to find failures and says, ironically, it may be vitriol from politicians within the Capitol, which presents a key threat now.
I grew up in the 60s. I witnessed the assassination of Martin Luther King and John Kennedy. I've seen bad times before, but I've never seen it at the top among so many people, which is an attempt to disrupt democracy by people who were or want to be president and said, we don't believe in the Constitution anymore.
It's a difference between a threat to the system and a threat inside the system.
Right. So now we have threats inside the system.
The vitriol that goes back and forth between opposing sides is at a level that really, I think, gets increasingly worse. My hope.
But it's curious because it happens inside those walls a lot of the time, right?
It does.
Yeah.
And that doesn't help. That's just an additional challenge that my cops have to deal with. I mean, you look at the issues that divide our country, and there's a lack of civility in any discussion that goes on between opposing sides.
Part of the challenge with protecting this building is preserving this open access for the people to see their government in action. While there have been efforts since the attack to have better intelligence gathering and sharing, particularly of white supremacist and far-right extremist threats, Honore says policing culture itself still needs to adapt, to recognize danger even when it's being condoned at the top.
The mob received a lot of what you might say, leave them alone type actions from police. Why didn't they act? Then many say if those were people of color, they might have been shot because they did nothing to arrest them. And that's a crying damn shame. That domestic terrorism is the #1 threat to our democracy.
While protection efforts have made it harder to attack politicians inside the Capitol, there's often no protection at all once they leave it. Not when a gunman attacked Democrat Gabby Giffords in 2011, nor last year when a hammer-wielding assailant broke into Nancy Pelosi's home. It's why the task force recommended additional officers to act as bodyguards away from Congress, but legislators refused to fund it.
We recommended 400 additional officers. But that was not approved in the Senate, and it still had not been approved. And that's still a gap that we don't have enough officers to provide the security.
Everything all right? Good. I like the short sleeves. In January, short sleeves.
It's insane.
Yeah,
I'll take it though.
Yeah.
On January 6th, it took hours to get additional help from outside the city to stop the attack. Now the chief says new protocols mean dozens of other police departments are routinely called upon during large protests.
There is more work to be done. There is definitely more work to be done, but we are at a point just even now where I feel very confident that we can handle whatever happens here.
It isn't a question of if either, just when.
David, on this anniversary, tell us about a new attempt to hold Donald Trump responsible.
Well, this is a wrongful death suit, Ian, and it's targeting not just the former president, but also two of the rioters who are named, who were there on January 6th. And it involves the case of a police officer named Brian Sicknick. On that day, he was hit by some sort of chemicals, went home at the end of that day, and died. And the medical examiner says that the events of January 6th played a role in his death. Now, those responsible for his estate are suing the former president and those two rioters, saying that they should be held personally responsible and have to pay financially for it.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.